Good morning. As North Korea gears up for its founding of the Workers' Party anniversary celebration, the focus is on whether its leader will attend. Formal talks between Hong Kong officials and pro-democracy student activists are scrapped for remarks undermining the basis for constructive dialogue. The 19th Busan International Film Festival is coming to an end. Filled with activity, Denny Hong has a first-hand look at this year's BIFF. Jumbo shrimps are in season, and the shrimp and boat captain says there's plenty more where it came from. On Korea Today, Friday, October 10th, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And a good Friday morning. Thank you for joining us on Korea Today. I'm Kim Young alongside Oh Jin-ju and Kim Min-jung.
Good morning, everyone. With the beautiful autumn season in full swing now, there are many different marathons taking place across the country. And just yesterday, a very special marathon took place. Some 3,000 children and their parents took part in a mini marathon running the 4.21 kilometer race. It was all for a good cause too. Look at them. Look at those little kids running.
Yeah, the marathon event was took place to help the people, the infants and children below the age of 5 around the world that are dying of curable and preventable diseases such as diarrhea, malaria, and pneumonia. And the money that has been gathered in yesterday's event will be sent to Ethiopia to help build medical facilities and to train medical staff there.
It is for a good cause. A 4K marathon, that has to be a long one, especially for these children.
Right.
But they're still doing it with their families and for a very good cause.
I've never personally run a marathon before, much less for a good cause. I mean, something to learn from the kids, right?
Exactly. But a 41K and a 4K makes no difference to me. I can't run either one.
Right.
All right, we're going to get to our top headline for this Friday morning. Amid growing speculation about his health and his mysterious absence from the public eye, the focus will be on whether North Korean leader Kim Jong-un will be present on Friday at the 69th founding anniversary of the North's Workers' Party. Kim attended the country's celebration for the last 2 years, and because he has not made an appearance in North Korean media for the past month, all eyes will be on whether he does, and if so, what condition he will be in. This while a diplomatic source says that a UN draft resolution on North Korea's human rights violations calls for the referral of Kim to the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity. The resolution, written by the European Union, was circulated behind closed doors on Wednesday, according to the source, who spoke on condition of anonymity and declined to give further details. The draft resolution is still subject to changes and needs approval by related UN councils and the General Assembly.
The Japanese government has reportedly informed Seoul that it finds it difficult to offer a solution for its past wartime sexual slavery that's been a major stumbling block in improving bilateral ties. According to the Japanese daily Nihon Gezai on Thursday, the Japanese delegation to the vice ministerial talks held earlier this month told its Korean counterpart that Tokyo at this point does not have anything to offer. Analysts say, if true, this clouds the prospects of summit talks, as the Korean government has maintained that Tokyo must offer a sincere apology and compensation for the victims before the leaders can sit down for dialogue. In the meantime, former Japanese Prime Minister Tomiichi Murayama, who in 1995 apologized for the suffering caused by Japan to its Asian neighbors during the imperial rule, told reporters in Seoul that most of the Japanese public acknowledge the country's wartime wrongdoings.
From resilience to breakthrough, the title of Korea's Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Choi Kyung-hwan's economic briefing, where he expressed confidence that Korea will lead the way in overcoming the slow global economic growth trend. Finance Minister Choi unveiled his so-called Chenomics blueprint for Korea's economy during a briefing in New York on Thursday, attended by some 200 foreign investors and presidents of global financial institutions, including Steven Schwartzman from Blackstone Group, the world's largest private equity and financial advisory firm. Che did say Korea is not in the clear yet, but emphasized it has adjusted well to fluctuations in the world's economy and presented a detailed explanation of the country's stimulus measures announced a day earlier. The minister has vowed to achieve a growth rate of 3.7% this year and 4% for the next.
Musicians and singers are reaching their fans through different means these days thanks to technological developments the industry has seen over the past years. And some 1,500 experts and artists came together in Seoul this week to discuss new developments in the field and growing challenges. For more, we connect live to Arirang News' Shin Se-min, who was at Itaewon, where this year's Seoul International Music Fair took place. Good morning, Se-min.
Good morning, Chinju. Yes. Good morning, Chinju. This year's Seoul's International Music Fair did contain a lot of interesting discussions and scenes at the site. And as you just mentioned, it also had discussions about technology and the music industry. Now, a lot of musicians as well as music lovers have been enjoying and have been quickly adapting to the fast-changing nature of technology. But it does come with two sides, both positive and negative aspects. And I have more on this from the conference. Thanks to the fast-changing nature of technology, music lovers can now access the works of their favorite artists at an affordable price or sometimes even for free through downloading and streaming services. Consumers are using that to their advantage, and so are musicians. Utilizing social networking services has allowed them to widen their audiences and get free publicity. It sometimes even leads to label contracts. Such was the case with Eastern Sidekick, a Korean indie rock band.
At first, we started out small, but after a couple of gigs at clubs in Hongdae and putting some of our performances online, the size of the crowds grew, and this is where we are now. Count business manager Eric Sussman among those who have benefited from the changing times. Through a Kickstarter campaign along with the now famous Amanda Palmer, the duo raised more than $1 million in just 18 months. Sussman said similar campaigns could be a good fit for Korean musicians.
Especially with how wired Korea is, it seems to me that getting the message out ought to be very easy. And the more people you reach, the higher your chances of finding the people that will support you. And in that sense, I think the market here is ripe for this kind of action.
However, as much as the technology works in favor of music fans and newcomers, it can also work against them. Four-time Grammy Award-winning record engineer Jimmy Douglas says the shift has made it much more difficult for musicians and record companies to generate profits.
Even though we seem to have entered a new age where the record companies don't quite have the same hold, now the money's gotten away, and now the streaming people have hold of the money. So what happens, the little guy gets totally pushed out of the way, and the big guy is now making more money, which is great for them, but it's just inequitable.
These are the types of discussions that took place at this week's Seoul International Music Fair. Hosted by the Culture Ministry and the Korea Creative Contents Agency, the event invited some 70 industry insiders from places like the United States, the United Kingdom, and the Netherlands. The fair included musical performances, workshops, and networking opportunities.
So, Se-min, you just talked about how this rapidly evolving technology is benefiting big players in the market while posing challenges for others. Were there any kind of solutions suggested at the event?
Well, not so much as a solution, as a lot of people have been talking about the industry, but I was able to see some of the industry insiders coming up with some new trends, trying to cope with the changing environment that's constantly changing. Some of them was that one participant brought up an interesting point, posing a new type of streaming services that allows a lot of music listeners to enjoy their songs by albums instead of individual tracks, opening up a new possibility within this sector.
Mm-hmm. And it's those creative ideas that will give artists greater access to a wider audience. So were there any other interesting events or discussions you came across at the fair?
Right. As a state-sponsored event, the fair aims to promote Korean music as well as to diversifying the industry itself, not so much as to having to rely on the K-pop idol groups created by large K-pop agencies as well as label companies. So while all these discussions were being held on the sidelines, a lot of producers as well as representatives from label companies physically met up with their potential business partners during their pitching sessions. And not only that, a lot of indie music performers were able to share their talents with their audiences through showcases. Shinju?
Hope to see more opportunities for these talented musicians out there. Thank you, Semin, for covering that report for us this morning. That was our Shin Semin reporting on this year's Seoul International Music Fair.
Happy Friday morning. It's time to run through the front pages of your newspapers. Now, cave paintings on the Indonesian island of Sulawesi have been found to be among the oldest of their kind, and this has broadened scientists' understanding of where art was born. Let's begin with these cave paintings on Gyeongyang Shinmun, and we'll take a look at the image of the paintings. And the title of the picture says, "Cave art from 40,000 years ago uncovered in Indonesia reverses belief that birthplace of art is Europe." So these ancient cave drawings, now discovered to be as old as the famous prehistoric art in Europe, suggest that our ancestors were drawing all over the world some 40,000 years ago. The caption explains that archaeologists have calculated that paintings of hand stencils and animals, such as this one here dubbed as a pig deer, are between 35,000 to 40,000 years old based on analysis of the uranium in their deposits. So that does put the art found in Sulawesi in almost the same time period as drawings found in Europe. In fact, one of the Indonesian handprints, pegged as being at least 39,900 years old, is now the oldest example of such an ancient art form ever found, according to a new study published this week in the journal Nature. And now turning to 동아일보 for a look at the top headline here. And this one is called "Plan to Lower World Connectivity Fee by 40% by the year 2020. And if we take a look at these sub-headlines, it looks like the International Telecommunication Union is looking to discuss the issue of dropping global broadband prices by 40% by 2020 in order to make phone calls and internet access cheaper around the world. And a report on this that includes the ICT price basket, more commonly known as the IPB index, which is an indicator for countries on their ICT or information and communication technologies affordability, is likely to be adopted in an ITU meeting this coming 20th over in Busan. Now, the IPB index measures communication costs as a percentage of gross national income per capita, depicting the tremendous regional disparities in such costs. Now, this, therefore, with the initiative to lower the fees on a global level, each government in each country is now expected to produce a variety of measures and policies to support the move. Now, going over to 조선일보 for this headline towards the bottom, and this is on a diplomatic front now. This one is called "The U.S. has interest in three-way, four-way, or bilateral talks with North Korea." And these are words coming from Sung Kim, the current and outgoing U.S. ambassador to Korea. In an interview with the Daily, he said that the U.S. is willing to test out any new form of dialogue with the North, whether it be a three-way talk including the two Koreas and the U.S., or a four-way talk adding China to the group, or even just bilateral talks. Now, he added that although the six-party talks do hold value as well, the U.S. is willing to try out new creative ways to talk with a reclusive country. However, he emphasized that the key lies in the North's sincere efforts to try carrying out the talks. And finally, we'll go to an image on the Mail Business newspaper. For this here. This is titled "Korean FA-50 successfully test fires air-to-ground missile for the first time." Now, the FA-50 is a new light combat aircraft manufactured by Korea Aerospace Industries for the Korean Air Force. And on Wednesday this week, the combat aircraft succeeded in its live fire testing, hitting its target of an abandoned ship in the EC right on the mark. And that was a look at newspaper headlines for this Friday. Now, Korea's stock market was closed yesterday due to the national holiday. So coming up are the numbers from Thursday's market action in other parts of Asia and around the world.
Let's now get a check on the weather for today and also the weekend.
Of course, we do have a weekend coming up, and you'll be wondering what the weather's going to be like. We'll go to Chun Song-cho, who has that for us. But first, a look at today's. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Yes, temperatures vary largely between day and night, and it's almost like having two seasons in one day. Yesterday's afternoon warmed up past the mid-20s with the help of a lot of sun, but this morning still feels quite chilly at the moment at 14 degrees Celsius, so try to wear different layers of clothes to adjust to the fluctuating temperatures. The weather conditions across the nation will be mostly clear all throughout the weekend, with a bit of passing clouds from time to time, except for in Gangwon-do province, where less than 5 millimeters of precipitation is in store for today. Typhoon Vongfong is also making its way up the East China Sea. As it is expected to turn more toward Japan, Korea will only be indirectly affected by the typhoon. The east and the south coast will be facing strong winds and high seas starting from Sunday to Monday. And with that, let's take a closer look at today's temperature readings. Afternoon highs are looking warm, mostly hovering in the upper 20s. Seoul is at 27, Gwangju at 28, and Gangneung the coolest at still under 20 at 19 degrees Celsius. This is all for me with the weather forecast. Back to you, Min-jung.
Now, the Ebola epidemic continues to expand its reach, and now it's suspected to have reached as far as Australia. For a closer look at this and other global headlines, we'll turn to our Eunice Kim, who's standing by at the news center. Good morning.
Good morning, Min-jung.
Now, what can you tell us about this nurse under observation in Australia?
Well, she was a Red Cross volunteer in Sierra Leone who had treated Ebola patients there for about a month. Sue Ellen Kovac is undergoing tests in isolation after being admitted to a hospital in Queensland with a fever yesterday. She had recently returned from Sierra Leone, and the state's chief health officer said the 57-year-old had isolated herself at her home since returning, so the contagion risk is near zero should she be infected. We'll turn now to Hong Kong, where the talks appear to be off. The formal dialogue that was to launch between pro-democracy student activists and high-level officials today have been scrapped, at least for now. The territory's second-ranking official, Chief Secretary Carrie Lam, pointed the blame at the fiery public remarks the student representatives had made over the past 2 days, saying they had seriously undermined the basis for constructive dialogue. The activists had called on supporters to return to the streets to take part in massive rallies on this Friday to raise the pressure. It also follows a bribery challenge against Chief Executive C.Y. Leung. An Australian media outlet had reported that the Hong Kong leader had accepted a $6.4 million bribe from an Australian engineering company. Hong Kong's lawmakers are now calling for an independent investigation. His office has denied any wrongdoing. The Australian company, though, said it was not obliged to reveal the deal.
I'm sure this weekend we'll see more developments there. Another Nobel Prize revealed. The coveted Nobel Prize for Literature has gone to French novelist Patrick Modiano.
Indeed, the Frenchman's novels usually tend to be relatively short, about 130 to 150 pages in length, in simple language, often focusing on World War II with the themes of memory, loss, identity, and seeking. The Swedish Nobel Committee said it was recognizing recognizing Modiano's body of work for its art of memory that evokes, quote, the most ungraspable human destinies. The 69-year-old is the 11th French writer to win the highest literary honor. He had also won the prestigious Prix Goncourt in 1978 for his novel Missing Person and the Austrian State Prize for European Literature in 2012.
Some good reads there. Now, let's look ahead to the grand finale of the Nobel Week. The recipient of this year's Peace Prize, the Nobel Peace Prize, will be unveiled later tonight, Korea time, and it is quite a crowd of candidates there.
The biggest pool of nominees yet for the Nobel Peace Prize at 278 nominees. And among them are, of course, internationally renowned figures such as UN Chief Ban Ki-moon and Pope Francis, but also some surprising candidates as well. Russian President Vladimir Putin made the short list, as did NSA contractor Edward Snowden. And also a constitutional clause from Japan. If you haven't heard already, Article 9 of Japan's constitution, which renounces war and the use of force to settle international disputes, is up for the Nobel Peace Prize this year. It has, of course, been closely watched this year, as well as it is being reinterpreted by the Shinzo Abe administration. The Oslo Peace Research Institute has said the clause assumes particular importance amid the geopolitical temperature now, i.e. military tensions around the world, including Ukraine. The nomination, this is interesting, was initiated by a housewife in Japan named Naomi Takatsu, and her campaign managed to garner more than 400,000 signatures, leading to the Norwegian Nobel Committee to accept that recommendation.
All right, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see who takes the most coveted Peace Prize there.
Later tonight, Korea time.
That's right. Thank you, Eunice.
You bet.
All right, stay with us because we're going to take you to Busan later on in the show, where Asia's largest film festival, the Busan International Film Festival, is coming to a grand finale there. But of course, not without a swarm of on-site events and parties. Denny Hong takes you beyond the glitz and glam and gives you a closer look at the festivities.
Statistics show 1 out of 6 people in the world will be affected by this condition once in their lifetime. Every 6 seconds, a person dies from this as well. Strokes are one of the most feared conditions among middle-aged men, even affecting people in their 20s and 30s. Now, Dr. Chang Kyung-sul is a neurosurgeon who focuses on surgery for stroke patients.
If one day you find yourself unable to walk straight and lopsided to one side, if you suffer from severe headaches, as if you've been hit by something on the head, or if you find your arms and legs limp and weak, in that moment you may have fallen victim to a stroke.
It hits you when you're least expecting it, but the buildup of symptoms is slow, so it's like a silent killer.
Many patients have been at the doorstep of death due to strokes, and finding ways to treat them at the operating table has been Dr. Chang Kyung-sul. A female patient in her 60s who suffered from a stroke 5 years ago is visiting Dr. Chang Kyung-sul after a recovery.
All of a sudden, my body just wouldn't listen to me, and I heard strange sounds in my ear. And then I just lost it. I don't remember what happened after that.
A stroke occurs when the blood supply to the brain is cut off, causing neurological damage. It is largely categorized into cerebral infarction, caused from blood clots, and cerebral hemorrhage, when an artery in the brain bursts. Once you experience a stroke, the brain cells begin to die at a rapid pace, leaving severe damage to the brain. This can cause unwanted after effects such as language disorders and paralysis in the body.
Some of the main risk factors when it comes to strokes are high blood pressure, diabetes, and hyperlipidemia. Other than that, findings suggest people who are under a lot of stress or smoke are particularly subject to cerebral infarctions.
In the case of cerebral hemorrhage, if the bleeding is limited, it can be treated using drugs. But if it's significant, the hematoma must be removed through surgery. In the case of cerebral infarction, blood clots are dissolved using medication, or they need to be mechanically removed to reopen the artery. When dissolving the clot, it takes roughly 2 to 3 hours, but it can also come with side effects such as an eruption in blood vessels. But in the case of mechanical removal, it can reopen the blood vessel in an hour, and the risks of side effects are low. In 2011, this hospital introduced a more advanced method of removal. By inserting a small net in the clogged blood vessel and then opening it up, the net is able to carry the blood clot out with it.
Because we're mechanically inserting things into the blood vessels to reopen it, the most important part is making sure no damage is done. So it's a very sensitive process. I always make the best of efforts to keep things detailed and preserve the blood vessels while only extracting the blood clot.
The success rate at this hospital for mechanical removal now stands at over 90%. And not only that, a team of some 50 medical staff work together to expedite the process.
I didn't experience anything odd after receiving surgery. I'm fine at work, when I'm taking care of chores at home, and when I'm driving. Dr. Zhang really saved my life.
The most important element in dealing with strokes is swift treatment, but what's even more important is prevention.
People with diabetes, high blood pressure, hyperlipidemia, and also smokers need to be more aware about strokes and visit the hospital to receive checkups. By doing that, we can identify the risks and prescribe medication. This helps prevent strokes by roughly 70 to 80%, so it's important to get checked out.
Dr. Chang Kyung-sul is known for restoring blood vessels in the brain and saving people's lives, and his efforts for better treatment will continue.
And still ahead on Korea Today, nothing goes to waste with jumbo shrimps or Daeha filled with flavor and flesh, nutrition, and much more. Chef Matthew Chung shows us a fail-proof recipe that brings with it pleasure to the palate and childhood memories.
All right, well, today on News Sum Up, we are going to take a look at the ongoing debate on whether or not you should be allowed to use e-cigarettes indoors or in non-smoking areas. I think yes.
I think no.
All right,
Anyway,
okay.
this ongoing debate comes as more and more smokers switch to e-cigarettes, as you said, after the government announced plans to hike the nation's cigarette price. Let's find out more with Seoul, who joins us in the studio. Good morning,
morning.
Misorang.
Yes or no, Misorang?
I will be neutral, but so there are two sides to this story. On the one side, they're saying, secondhand smoke from e-cigarettes, it's pretty safe, it's just water vapor. But the other side, they're saying, whatever, smoking is smoking, just go outside. So let's have a look at the responses online. Just on one related article, there were over 3,000 comments. So they're saying smoke from e-cigarettes is scent-free, harmless water vapor. Well, another person said, it's flavored nicotine liquid. I doubt there are any heavy metals coming out of it. On the other side, people said, I've seen people use cigarettes in movie theaters. If you have a brain, please use it. So they're saying use common sense. And the last person said, if you have a right to smoke, I also have a right to not have to inhale your smoke. So those are the two sides. But the bottom line, though, is that in the eyes of the law, e-cigarettes are the same as normal cigarettes. So using it in non-smoking areas is illegal and you can be fined.
Okay, well, smoking in, I think, movie theaters is really
Yeah, that's
too much.
it.
I think I'll switch to no now.
But I think I should tell that to my male colleague who says that smoking indoors is okay. He says that it is water vapor. Is that true?
Well, most of it is water vapor, so he is right on certain aspects. But as the WHO recently pointed out, there are still traces of nicotine, formaldehyde, chromium, lead, and so on. So, it's hardly 100% safe.
Okay, let's say no then.
We're agreeing on that one. Now, also trending is the list of best global brands for this year, the 100. The consulting group Interbrand released this yesterday. So Apple came first, Google second, and of Korean brands, 3 came in the top 100. And As you can see, with the upward arrows, Samsung, Hyundai, and Kia, they all performed better than last year.
So it's good to see that we have Samsung, Hyundai Motor, and Kia Motors up on the list.
Hopefully we'll see more next year though. And also for Hangul Day yesterday, a bunch of US students studying here in Korea, they got together and organized a book donation drive. So they were collecting Korean books to send to the States. And this whole thing came from one student's idea who said that when he was studying Korean in the States, it was pretty hard to find books in Korean and material on Korean. So he said that by sending these books over there, he will make it easier for other people to learn Korean.
That's very noble of him.
It is,
too.
yeah.
Right.
To make it easier for the people who come after him.
It's a selfless move there. Do we know how many books were collected?
Well, they were aiming for around 1,500 in the beginning, but they received well over that. So they're distributing it now to several universities in the States.
Interesting.
Now, this last one is also related to Hangul Day yesterday. It's a typewriter, it's a Korean typewriter, and it's 80 years old. Now, if you have a look closer, you can see that the key layout is a bit different to what we're used to now.
Wow, that's so interesting. Look at those letters.
Yeah. So we can say that though, the current system that we're used to has evolved from this, because this is actually the very first Korean typewriter.
I think I can't find the right keys for...
Yeah, you have to use a lot of shift keys and space keys apparently to use it properly.
Interesting. Where can you see this typewriter?
Well, if you want to have a look at it, then you can visit the Hangul Museum because it's on display there now. So maybe a weekend trip.
You know, I had planned on going, but because Chun Sung-cho gave us a thorough look at the museum, I think I'll skip this year. Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Ms. Warang.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, that was a look at some of the keywords trending online. Let's turn to our SJ Lee for some sports updates.
And TGI Friday, everyone, as we kick things off in football, where the Korean national football team is set to face off against Paraguay later tonight. And for manager Uli Stilicke, it's a big match considering it's his managerial debut with Korea. And with the press conference taking place on Thursday, the 60-year-old German sounded pretty confident in the team, saying that he'll play to win. And while manager Stilicke focused on the defense during training, he's set to start 35-year-old Lee Dong-guk, the oldest player on the squad, and Kim Seung-dae, the youngest player, to play alongside in the offense. Meanwhile, the newly hired manager also named Ki Sung-young as the captain of the national team, as the Taeguk Warriors are set to face off against Paraguay at 8 p.m. at the Cheonan Sports Complex. Meanwhile, over to the Under-19 Asian Championship, which kicked off in Myanmar. The Korean squad, who won the last tournament back in 2012, faced off against Vietnam in their first match as Lee Jung-bin scored just before the end of the first half for a 1-0 lead before Korea blows up in the second half with 5 goals to take the first match 6-0. And now with that, we're going to shift over to the domestic league, where FC Seoul and the Ulsan Hyundai Tigers faced off on Thursday in the K-League Classic. And of course, going into the match here, a rather quiet first half of the match until Kim Nam-chun in the 44th minute finds the back of the net, giving FC Seoul the 1-0 first half lead. Now stays that way for the most part until Sergio Escudero in the 85th minute, 2-0 FC Seoul as he sends one past the goalkeeper. 5 minutes later, it's deja vu all over again as Escudero scores his second goal of the day, giving FC Seoul the 3 points in the 3-0 victory. And now shifting over to golf, as the 2014 Arirang Championship winner Kim Hyo-ju is set to have a rather busy 2015 season after her successful 2014 season. Despite rumors that the 19-year-old will not participate in the next KLPGA season, the teen sensation came out in a recent interview stating that she'll compete in both the LPGA and the KLPGA for the 2015 season. The 11th ranked Kim plans to compete in 10 LPGA events next season, but can compete up to 15, as she plans to compete in 10 KLPGA events as well. And now finishing things off with some Thursday's KBO action, the LG Twins remain red hot with a 7-6 win against the Kia Tigers in the 10th inning, followed by the NC Dinos, who crushed the Samsung Lions 9-4. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the two struggling teams face off as the Hanwha Eagles hosted the Tucson Bears. Now, going into the game, here we go over to the second inning of the game. Oh Jae-il RBI single to right field. That scores Kim Hyun-soo from second, and the Tucson Bears take a 1-0 lead. Tucson's Lee Jae-woo throwing a one-hitter through 5 innings, but the bullpen collapses in the 7th inning as Felix Pie ties the game with an RBI single to right. Next play, bases loaded for Kim Tae-won, but a wild pitch gives the Hanwha Eagles the 2-1 lead. But not done yet. Chung Bong-mo this time, an RBI single to left puts Hanwha up 3-1 before Lee Hak-jun's RBI grounder completes the 4-run 7th as the Hanwha Eagles win this game 4-1. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Now, this year's Busan International Film Festival will come to a close tomorrow. That's on Saturday. And unfortunately, us three didn't have a chance to go down there.
We didn't check it out. What do you mean it's ending? Right?
Right. But our Denny Hong did, and he brings us the scenes from the big event. Good morning.
We envy you.
Denny's actually also a Busan native, too.
Yeah,
Really?
so, I had a lot of things to do,
Didn't know that.
Well, I think before I moved back up to Seoul, actually, when I lived in Busan, I went to the festival all the time, actually, just as a personal thing to just enjoy the movies and stuff. So this time it was different, kind of going there for work. But
and you've actually been able to see the growth of the festival.
I have. The first festival I went to was back in 2004.
Wow.
So
that's ancient.
When it was tiny, right? It was just a local event.
It was still pretty big back then, too. But
like
they had more
25
venues.
or like 19?
I can't remember how old I was back then, but we'll keep that a secret. But there was a lot of things to do at the festival this year around, so it doesn't matter what you want to do, there's always some kind of activity for you to enjoy. So let's kind of take a look at the festival events.
제19회 부산국제영화제의 개막을 선언합니다.
The Busan International Film Festival 2014 raised its curtains last week on Thursday.
Ooh.
From the dazzling red carpet, which invited big-name actors from Korea and abroad, to the many on-site events, they swept up the hearts of many movie fans and bring you a hidden, detailed look at the festival. On the first weekend since the film festival kicked off, fans from all over flooded to the southern port city, packing the venue. We're here on site for the 19th Busan International Film Festival, where a steady stream of movie fans have been coming here to buy their tickets to see their favorite films. This year marks the 19th Busan Film Festival, and 79 pieces from 314 countries were invited. Dubbed China's goddess, actress Tang Wei visited Busan once again for her film The Golden Era, while Korea's big-name directors like Bong Joon-ho, Im Kwon-taek, as well as China's Jang Mi-mu also brought some extra spotlight to the event. It's a warm, sunny day. The Busan Film Festival is well underway, and there are definitely lots and lots of people here. Crowds are still coming in to enjoy not only the movies, but also the various activities that are here to enjoy. One of the most popular hotspots is the BIFF Village. Here you have model sets recreating scenes from the movies, as well as other events that people can take part in.
It's awesome. I love it. I love that it's all at the beach. Everything's open. There's so many booths out here. It's really nice. It's great.
But one of the charms is that you get to see your favorite movie stars up close in a very welcoming outdoor setting. This is a great opportunity for fans to ask questions and get some unfiltered answers.
Look at the crowd. Going wild.
Actor Choi Min-sik, who took on the role of Korea's most loved hero in the film Roaring Currents, even with his depth and experience in the field, he admitted it was not easy.
명량이라는 작품을 통해서 또 많은 정말 이 말도 안 되는 어마어마한 관객분들이 봐주셨잖아요. 그럼 또 그것에 합당한 내가 이분들에게 돌려드렸는가 이런 자문을 많이 해봐요. 그럼 진짜 예전에 비해서 너무나 생각이 많아진 거예요.
Candid interview there.
Meanwhile, Jo Jung-seok and Shin Min-ah, who worked together in the film My Love, My Bride, displayed some good chemistry on stage as well.
민아 씨가 아이디어를 내고 제가 과감히 바지를 벗었죠.
That's cute.
But the largest event drawing a sea of fans was Matthew Chung with the film Himu. Being the global star that he is, and with an army of female fans, a lot of attention went to one particular topic. It was also a moment reflecting his growing ambitions as an actor and not just a singer.
얼굴이 아니고 막 그 손만 나오는데도 손에 그 감정이 막 전달해질 때 막 그런 것들이 있잖아요. 그런 거 보면 굉장히 그런 거 재미를 많이 느껴요.
He really got into acting there, huh?
Yep, and it wasn't just Park Yoo-chan making the transition either. The Busan Film Festival is well known for being the platform for many actors taking on directing. Last year, Ha Jung-woo was here to share his experience on directing the comedy Fasten Your Seatbelt. This year, standing in those same shoes was Koo Hae-sun, who took on 3 roles for her movie Daughter, acting, directing, and writing. And she shared what that experience was like.
제가 연기한 걸 모니터하고 또 그걸 오케이 사인 내리기까지가 너무 어려운 거예요. 객관적으로 볼 수가 없는 거예요, 저를. 네, 그래서 저를 촬영할 때 시간이 굉장히 오래 걸렸어요.
So the film festival is not just fun for movie fans, it's also a source of joy and excitement for the celebrities there as well. As the sun goes down and night falls, there is still no sign of activities dying down. The many events and performances for fans led into partying at night, and so there's really no time to be bored. Especially this year, popular comedian Park Myung-soo was behind the turntables, spicing up the nighttime fun.
Wow.
Denny, you should have been on the floor. What are you doing on the second floor?
We didn't film that part. The little strip of street vendors along Haeundae Beach cannot go unmentioned as well. It's a place where you can enjoy a relaxing moment over some drinks with some fresh seafood. It's one of the most loved spots by celebrities as well. This year, actor Chung Woo-sung, Shin Min-ah, and Kim Soo-hyun made a surprise appearance, sharing some of their time with the fans there.
Can you imagine running into Kim Soo-hyun at a market like that?
I'd be more
the Busan International Film Festival. It brings more fans from all over the world together, and it closes curtains tomorrow. But it's ready to gear up for another run next year.
Huh. It would be great to have a drink or two with your favorite star at one of
Kim
those
Soo-hyun,
pojangmatches. Yeah,
you mean Kim Soo-hyun, right? You mean Kim
I
Soo-hyun.
meant Chung Woo-sung. Now, Denny, I heard that movies from 79 movies from 314 countries have been put on the stage this year. Did you have a chance to get to watch it?
Sadly, no. Not this time around. Well, obviously we were there to kind of film the scene and see what people are doing, but there was not enough dead time between one shot to the next that I could go and enjoy a film. And a lot of tickets are actually sold out. A lot of the popular films were already, kind of reaching their maximum occupancy. So it's kind of a fight. So
He's
get
the
them
films.
early.
He got to meet the stars. So.
Well,
Yes, I got to hang out with them.
Let's talk about the parties at night. There's a lot of downtime for the stars as well at night.
Well, in this case, you're thinking, well, not just the regular people that are going there to enjoy the nightlife, but also the film directors and celebrities that are there. They want to unwind after releasing their film, and so there were some private parties not open to the public. A lot of these are organized by film distributors, and so basically they're just trying to share what's happening for the next year, what's on the docket for them as well, and just kind of a way to relax with each other too. So I got to go into a couple of those. One was for international market, 국제시장, and the other one was by a distributor called New, and they were both set up at bars. Basically, just a little more relaxing environment. The directors and celebrities come around and pour you drinks and talk a little bit and share.
So are you going to be in one of their movies
No.
now?
You play a pretty good bouncer, I think. Right?
I could.
Denny, it's not over until the fat lady sings, or so they say. So what's ahead for the closing ceremony?
Well, the closing ceremony is tomorrow. It will be co-hosted, and one of them, actually the closing film that we want to mention is that it's going to be Gangster Payday, and this one will be basically a crime melodrama hybrid, and so that is definitely in the docket for tomorrow as well too. So if you are in the area, definitely check it out.
Okay, thank you so much, Denny.
No problem.
All right, we're going to take a look at the top 5 on the K-pop charts, and we'll be back with your Daeha dishes or the jumbo shrimps.
좀처럼 잊혀지지 않는 얼굴 보고 싶어.
I don't know. Friday mornings, I seem to get the hungriest. There's all this food over here, and Matthew Chung joins us this morning. And I believe that jumbo shrimp are in season.
That's right. Jumbo shrimp this time of the year, it has a lot to do with the temperature of the waters. So, you know, the waters are nice and cold, so you have the shrimp that are nice and active. You know, they're not lazy, happy shrimp. They're moving around.
Okay, so the jumbo shrimp, they're not like king prawn, but they're a little bit smaller, but bigger than your average shrimp in Korea, right?
That's right. So it's kind of the best of both worlds because, you know, they're a really perfect size to just grill up because they cook really evenly. And then sometimes when the shrimp get a little bit too large, the flavor gets a little too strong. So right now what we have are nice, sweet, plump jumbo shrimp in
So
season.
we're used to seeing these in a pot with some rock salt or coarse salt on the bottom, and then basically they cook it up, and we're used to eating it like that, right?
That's right. That's probably one of the most favorite ways to eat it here in Korea. Now there are a couple of other recipes we can do, and we're going to cook up something of our own today. So why don't we take a look at ways we love to eat Daeha here in Korea.
Shrimp. They're plump, rich, and full of flavor, making them everyone's favorite. Tiny shrimp, they're usually used for brining or stocks or even seasoning, while medium and larger sized ones, you can cook them any way you'd like. And come October, there's a particular type of shrimp full in season. It's the jumbo shrimp, or Daeha. Daeha, they're known to reach beyond 20 centimeters, about 8 inches, around this time. And September and October are also the months when they're the fullest, and it brings out a really special flavor in them. So enjoying Daeha this time of the year, probably everyone's favorite way of eating them is grilling them on salt. So you lay down a thick layer of coarse salt on the bottom of the pan, and then you pack the shrimps in. And then 10 minutes later, you have these clusters of pink, rosy Daeha cooked just right. If you want something a little unexpected, how about this Daeha ramyeon dish here? It has this high-low thing going on, and there's this broth from the shrimp that's rich and satisfying, and it's spicy at the same time, so it hits the perfect spot. So this love for Daeha in Korean cuisine, it's not something new. It's been an important ingredient from long ago, and you'll see it featured not only in the Donggukyeoji Seungnam from the Joseon Dynasty, which was published back in 1481, but also in other old publications from China and Japan as well. So nowadays, with new developments in farming, people can enjoy Daeha for much better prices, and it makes it one of those dishes that really gets sought out this time of year. Alright, so this is the season to get your hands on some Daeha. Right now they're sweet, they're delicious, and they're packed full of nutrition. So we got some more coming up for you right in the studio.
Okay, so we saw a few ways that Korea does Daeha or jumbo shrimp, and they have Daeha festivals around town now where you can actually get this stuff for really cheap and enjoy all the ways that they prepare it.
Yeah, that's right. They're all over the country right now.
Yeah.
And so, you know, especially if you go out to the coastal regions, you know, just about, you know, any given place, any time, there's going to be one Daeha festival happening this season.
All right, but we brought the Daeha festival right to your living room, right here in the studio. Matthew, what are you going to do with this Daeha?
So we love Daeha in Korea, and I don't know if you ever did this when I was a kid, but this is one of my favorite things to do. You know, when there's nothing to eat at home, you just take a bowl of rice with a little butter, a little soy sauce, and mix it all up together. Butter bibimbap is basically what it was.
I still have it. I had it yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those really great things, you know, that you can just enjoy at any time. And we're going to kick it up a little bit. So what you do is you take your Daeha, right? You're going to peel them. And then one of my favorite parts of the shrimp is actually the shell, just because there's so much flavor packed in here. And all you're going to do is simmer these shrimp shells with a little bit of butter maybe some herbs and some spices if you'd like, but really you only need these two ingredients.
Okay, so these are the shells that people normally don't eat, right? I mean, they just have these left over, and then you just go ahead and mix that up. How long are you supposed to mix it together? I mean, is this basically supposed to dissolve the shell?
It won't dissolve. What it'll do is it'll just continue to cook. So you're going to want to simmer it low and slow for about 30 minutes. And you don't want to make sure that you want to make sure that the heat's not on too high, because otherwise that butter's going to burn on you.
And this is what you get.
And this is what you get. So give that a smell.
It's pink
Oh,
too.
it smells like a butter cookie.
Yeah, it's really rich smelling, and with that shrimp flavor, it'll just sort of it will make the butter seem even more rich. So we're just going to put a little bit of this into our pan. So
almost looks like a peach.
Right, a little bit, yeah. So we're just going to get that butter melted.
All right.
And then we're going to start.
Smells great.
Right. There's probably no better combination in my mind than shellfish and butter. So we're going to add a couple of onions. The onions is going to give it that nice aromatic sweetness. And then we're also going to add some hot green pepper and a little bit of garlic. Or, you know what? A lot of garlic.
All right. We'll have stinky breath.
Why not?
That's okay.
And then we're just going to let all that sweat out just for a second.
That smells great.
Yeah, this is a really quick recipe too.
Just smells
It's
awesome.
not reaching us just yet.
Here, let me circulate the air that way.
Bring it on.
Oh, that smells great.
Add a little fresh thyme, toss a bay leaf in there, a little bit of paprika for some extra color. And then we're also going to crush up a little hot chili in here as well, just for a little heat.
Ginger's actually pretty good with the spicy stuff.
Oh yeah, so we'll toss in a couple more of these.
Toss all of it in.
She can handle anything.
Yeah, sounds like a
Ginger's
challenge.
pretty good too.
Sounds like a challenge to me.
So I mean, you could actually put more butter in here if you like it a little bit more.
Oh, there's going to be a little bit more that's going to go in here right at the very end.
Oh, it's just. Can you smell it now?
No, not yet.
You have to smell this. This is just fabulous.
All right, we're almost done here. So we're going to, at this point, we're going to add our shrimp.
So the shrimp goes in last?
The shrimp goes in last. The shrimp barely has to cook.
Oh.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than overcooked shrimp.
Okay, I mean, some people are a little bit concerned about how well they should cook their seafood. So in the case of shrimp, or of course you're getting fresh shrimp, I mean, how well should it be done?
I mean, it should be cooked all the way through, but the thing is that it takes a lot less time than a lot of people think.
Okay.
So essentially, to cook it safe, it needs to cook to an internal temperature of about 165 degrees Fahrenheit, which is, essentially the same temperature that you would cook just about any other meat. Now, if your shrimp is super fresh, then you can cook it a lot lower than that. But if you are concerned, don't worry. Like I said, shrimp, it's a very delicate meat, so it doesn't take that long at all to cook.
Okay. Well, it took maybe about 3 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
So this is a quick meal. You can just go ahead and make this real quick.
And what's best about this is that this butter that you made beforehand, you can stick this in the freezer and it'll stay good for about 3 months.
3 months.
So you can make a big batch of the butter and then just have that on hand anytime you need a quick meal. All right, so the shrimp are just about done cooking. So we're gonna just finish it off with a little bit of soy sauce. And while I'm doing this, Young, if you can put some of this rice on that on that plate over there.
All of it? Like, just dump it?
Not all of it, just, enough for the four of us.
Give specific directions to Young.
Hey, I'm dumb and dumber when it comes to cooking, so. Here, how about that? That's good, right?
That looks good.
All right. Can I be your
So
assistant?
you're not actually frying the rice. You're just
No,
it's kind of like a
it's like a bibimbap.
Right, or tteokbap. You're just putting the
That's right, just
the
like you
ingredients
had
on
when you were a
top.
kid. All right, and so we're just going to finish this off with a little extra
Now we
butter.
can
Yeah.
All right, so a little bit of butter at the end of that just to pack that flavor in there.
That's right. All right, so here we go.
All right.
We're all done.
Okay, so right now, from what it looks like, it took 5 minutes to cook this up. So this is something that you could make at home for people, for guests that come over, and you can do it really quick.
That's right. So we'll just brighten this up with a few greens. And then just a few sprouts.
There you go. And now we're getting that, that restaurant quality food, right? Do you have spoons over there?
Yes, we do.
Matthew, why don't we go over there?
Whenever you're ready. All right.
I'm so hungry.
Oh, I've never tried a dish made with shrimp.
All right, thank you.
What do you think you're doing?
You know, this shrimp butter, whenever we make it at the restaurant, it always tends to somehow magically disappear. You know, people will take just a little bit and spread it on a little bit of bread.
Is there a reason you use the shells, though? I was curious because I would imagine you would use the flesh, but not the skin.
Well, you use the shell. You eat the meat, and then the skin has all that extra flavor in there. If you take a bite of that, it is packed full of that extra shrimp flavor. So something that you would normally throw away, is really the star of this dish.
The texture of the shrimp is so chewy.
And it's buttery too.
Matthew, you want a spoon or maybe chopsticks?
Oh no, I'm good. You know what? Just watching you guys enjoy it. That's my
really good.
I want to have one with the pepper.
Can I take the butter you made?
It's very savory. It's very seafoody, but at the same time, kind of meaty too. It's a great dish for children as well.
Yeah, because this doesn't really have that sort of fishiness or brininess of the seafood, but it really does, like you said, bring out the meatiness of the shrimp.
All right. Well, thank you so much for cooking for us and giving us this great recipe today.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. All right. Well, this is where we say goodbye on this Friday morning.
We'll be back at 7 a.m. on Monday. Have a great weekend.
Enjoy your weekend.
All right, give me some of that shrimp now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.